His fiancée left him after his accident. Virgin Millionaire CEO found love again in the arms of a black nurse. She reached for his injured leg to begin her assessment. He flinched when her fingers touched his knee, not from pain, but from the sudden awareness of human contact. Have you ever had someone speak truth when everyone else was feeding you what you wanted to hear? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. The moment Alicia Warren stepped into Ethan Cole's luxury rehab suite, she didn't see the broken billionaire splashed across tabloids. She saw a man whose eyes still burned with purpose despite a body betrayed by circumstance. Rain pounded against floor-to-ceiling windows of the private Chicago Rehabilitation Center. Ethan Cole sat with his back to the door, wheelchair positioned to face Lake Michigan's gray expanse. His shoulders, once straight and powerful on magazine covers, now curved inward like a question mark. Mr. Cole, I'm Alicia Warren, your new rehabilitation nurse. Her voice carried calm authority, practiced over years of caring for patients who'd lost more than mobility. He didn't turn. The 5th this month. Let's see how long you last. Alicia placed her clipboard on the marble countertop, the sound echoing through the suite that cost more per night than her monthly rent. That depends entirely on you. Now he turned, revealing a face still handsome despite exhaustion etching lines around his eyes. His gaze traveled from her sensible shoes to her face, assessing, calculating. She recognized that look. Wealthy patients often sized up staff like furniture. Your predecessor quit after I threw a water pitcher. His tone suggested he expected fear or judgment. Alicia merely smiled. I've had patients throw worse. Your medical chart interests me more than your temper tantrums. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe respect. For the briefest moment, vulnerability replaced the hardened mask he showed the world. The accident damaged more than my leg, he said, voice lower. I know. I saw the video. His jaw tightened. Everyone had seen it. His glamorous fiancée tossing a 3-carat diamond onto his hospital tray, announcing to her accidentally filming assistant that she couldn't marry a broken man. The clip went viral within hours. Then you know I'm not just physically damaged. I am publicly humiliated. Alicia moved closer, her clipboard forgotten. Mr. Cole, in my profession, we don't see damaged. We see healing and progress. She reached for his injured leg to begin her assessment. He flinched when her fingers touched his knee, not from pain, but from the sudden awareness of human contact. Your file says you've been refusing therapy. She maintained professional distance while her fingers gently probed the surgical scars. That ends today. Their eyes met, and something electric passed between them. Challenge, recognition, possibility. You think you can fix what's broken? He asked, voice rough. I think nothing is broken beyond healing. Even billionaires who throw pitchers. When she handed him the therapy schedule, their fingers brushed, and for the first time since the accident, Ethan felt something besides pain or anger. What he didn't know was that she had already been warned about him. Rich men like him see nurses like you as disposable. Have you ever had someone truly see you at your lowest moment? How does it feel when someone looks past your defenses instead of being fooled by them? Drop a heart in the comments if you've experienced that rare connection where someone recognized your strength when all you could see was weakness. His body flinched when she reached for his damaged leg. A billionaire tech genius used to controlling everything except the betrayal of his own muscles. We're going to start with basic movement assessment, Alicia explained, sunlight streaming through windows that showcased Chicago's skyline. 3 days had passed since their first meeting, and Ethan had reluctantly agreed to begin therapy. I've read the protocol, he muttered. Stanford Medical's approach is outdated. We've researched alternatives. Alicia suppressed a smile. Of course you have. The man who revolutionized artificial intelligence probably knows more than doctors with decades of experience. His eyes narrowed. Are you mocking me? I'm acknowledging your pattern. Control is your comfort zone. She gestured to the therapy table, which is why this will be particularly challenging for you. Ethan gripped the parallel bars, determination hardening his features as he attempted to stand. His knuckles whitened, sweat beading on his forehead as pain shot through his damaged leg. He faltered, nearly collapsing before Alicia caught him, her hands firm around his waist. "I don't need help," he growled through clenched teeth. "Everyone needs help, Mr. Cole. Even billionaires." They were close enough that she could feel his heartbeat racing against her palm. His breathing came shallow and quick, not just from exertion, but from the unfamiliar intimacy of being supported by someone else. "Again," he demanded. For 30 minutes, they repeated the exercise. Each time he tried to stand alone, each time he failed, each time she caught him. With every attempt, the tension between them shifted, from frustration to determination to something neither acknowledged. When she helped him back to the wheelchair, he didn't immediately release her wrist. "Why aren't you impressed by me?" The question caught her off guard. "Should I be? Most people are. My net worth, my accomplishments. Your bank account isn't in therapy, Mr. Cole. You are." She gently removed his hand. "And my job isn't to be impressed. It's to help you heal." His face registered surprise, then something deeper. "You're the first person since the accident who doesn't look at me with pity." Pity is useless in rehabilitation. As she adjusted his leg on the wheelchair rest, her fingers brushed against his calf. He inhaled sharply, not from pain. The involuntary response embarrassed him, color rising to his face. "It's a normal physiological reaction," she said professionally, though her own pulse quickened. "The body responds to touch, especially after prolonged isolation. Is that your clinical assessment?" His voice had dropped lower, with an edge that hadn't been there before. "Mr. Cole, I've rebuilt soldiers who lost limbs in combat zones. Your leg will heal. It's your trust that's broken." He stared at her, seeing beyond the scrubs and professional demeanor to the woman beneath. "And can you fix that too, Nurse Warren? That depends entirely on you." She moved away, creating professional distance. "Tomorrow we increase intensity. Be ready." As she headed toward the door, his voice stopped her. "Alicia?" The first time he'd used her name. "Why aren't you like the others?" She turned back. "Because I see the man, not the headlines." When was the last time someone's honesty cut through your defenses? Would you rather hear comfortable lies or necessary truths? Comment below with your experience. Have you ever had someone speak truth when everyone else was feeding you what you wanted to hear? The first time she made him laugh, 3 staff members stopped in the hallway. They'd heard about the bitter billionaire, but never the sound of his joy. 2 weeks into rehabilitation, Ethan had progressed from barely standing to taking small steps with a walker. Today, Alicia had convinced him to try the garden terrace, where spring breathed life into carefully tended flowers. "You're hovering," he complained as she walked beside him, ready to catch him if necessary. "I am spotting. There's a difference." She matched his pace. "Hovering would mean I don't think you can do this. Spotting means I know you can, but I'm here just in case." He stopped, leaning on his walker. "That distinction matters to you? Words matter." She pointed to a bench. "That's today's goal. 10 more steps." Sweat darkened his shirt as he pushed forward, jaw clenched against pain. When he finally reached the bench and lowered himself down, triumph flashed across his face before he masked it with nonchalance. "Tell me something real," he said abruptly as she sat beside him, leaving professional space between them. "Real. Everyone treats me like I'm made of glass. Nurses, doctors, my so-called friends who never visit." His fingers tapped restlessly against the metal walker. "Tell me something true, something not in your script." Alicia considered him. The morning sunlight caught the silver threaded through his dark hair. Premature aging from stress, not time. "I almost quit nursing last year," she admitted. "My younger brother was diagnosed with leukemia. I spent every spare minute with him through treatment." Ethan studied her face. "And now, he's in remission. But watching him fight, it changed me." She smiled slightly. "That's why your temper tantrums don't scare me. I've seen real battles." Something shifted in his expression. "Is that why you took this assignment? After fighting for your brother, I must seem like an easy case." She laughed, a genuine sound that made him blink in surprise. "There's nothing easy about you, Ethan Cole. You're stubborn, impatient, and you expect the world to bend to your will. Her eyes met his. "But you're also working harder than any patient I've had. You just don't want anyone to know it." He stared at her, then unexpectedly laughed, a rusty sound as though long and used. "Brutal honesty. That's new. You asked for something real." A comfortable silence settled between them. He noticed dark circles under her eyes, the slight droop of her shoulders. "When did you last eat?" he asked suddenly. "I grabbed coffee this morning." He frowned. "That's not food." He gestured to the untouched lunch tray a staff member had brought earlier. "Take it. I'm not hungry. That's against protocol." "So, is telling your patient he's stubborn and impatient?" His eyes held unexpected warmth. "Take the damn sandwich, Alicia." She accepted it, their fingers brushing during the exchange. Neither acknowledged the contact, though both felt it like electricity. As she bit into the sandwich, he watched her with curious intensity. "Why Atlanta?" he asked. "Your file says you're from there." "You read my file?" "I read everything about people in my life." The casual way he included her in his life hung between them. "My brother's treatment center is there," she explained. "This travel assignment lets me save for his ongoing care while still helping him between rotations." Understanding dawned in his eyes. "That's why you need." Her phone chimed with a text. She glanced down, then froze. The message read, "Stay away from Ethan Cole." She nearly dropped the device. The sender was unknown, but the warning was clear. Someone was watching them, and they didn't like what they saw. Do you believe healing happens in unexpected ways? Have you ever connected with someone who came into your life for one reason, but changed it for another? Share your story below if you've experienced a relationship that crossed the boundaries it was supposed to maintain. She deleted the warning text and told herself it was nothing, even as 3 more messages arrived, each detailing where she'd been with him that day. 45 seconds longer than yesterday, Alicia announced, stopping the timer as Ethan completed his standing endurance test. Significant improvement. He nodded, lowering himself into the wheelchair with less assistance than before. 3 weeks into rehabilitation, his progress accelerated daily, a fact he acknowledged with determined nods rather than celebration. "The board wants to meet tomorrow," he said, toweling sweat from his face. "They're sending a car." "Here? That's unusual." She made notes in his chart, avoiding his eyes. She hadn't mentioned the threatening texts, for more had arrived since yesterday, escalating from warnings to explicit threats about her career. "Corporate vultures circling to see if I'm still fit to lead." His tone remained casual, but tension radiated from his shoulders. Billion-dollar companies don't wait for CEOs to heal at their own pace. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. Against better judgment, she checked it. You touch him again during therapy, and the hospital board gets photos. Nurses who sleep with patients lose licenses. Her hand trembled slightly as she shoved the phone away. "Everything okay?" Ethan asked, noticing her reaction. "Fine." She forced a smile. "Let's work on your gait pattern before lunch." As she helped position his walker, she felt him studying her face. "You're lying," he said quietly. "Something's wrong." "It's nothing." "Alicia." His hand caught hers, warm and steady. "You've seen me at my worst. Return the favor." The unexpected gentleness broke through her resolve. "I've been receiving messages, warnings to stay away from you." His expression hardened. "Show me." She hesitated, then handed him her phone. His eyes narrowed as he scrolled through the texts, jaw tightening with each one. "How long has this been happening?" "Since the garden." 3 days. He looked up sharply. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because it's probably nothing. Jealous staff, maybe." She reached for the phone. "It doesn't matter." "It matters." His voice dropped dangerously low. "Someone's threatening you because of me." "Ethan." "You call me Ethan." A slight smile touched his lips despite the situation. "Not Mr. Cole." Heat rose to her face. Force of habit from reading threatening texts about you. His smile vanished as he handed back the phone. "I'm having security check the facility cameras. And I'm upgrading your access clearance. You'll use private elevators and entrances from now on." "That's excessive." "That's protection." He held her gaze. "I protect what matters to me." The implied significance hung between them, neither acknowledging the boundary just crossed. Before she could respond, her tablet chimed with a notification. "Your board members just cleared security downstairs," she said, checking the alert. "They're early." Typical. He straightened his chair, CEO mask sliding into place. "They're hoping to catch me at a disadvantage. Should I reschedule your afternoon therapy?" "No, they can wait." His eyes found hers. "This comes first." The board members arrived in identical black cars, their faces grim as they requested a private meeting. "It's about your recovery timeline," they said, but when they closed the door, leaving her outside, she caught 3 words that made her blood run cold. The nurse situation. Have you ever felt watched or judged for a connection that was innocent? How did you handle others' assumptions? Drop a comment below if you've experienced the weight of judgment for a relationship others misunderstood. The board members called her the nurse situation, never guessing that behind the closed door, Ethan was discovering just how much he needed her to breathe. Alicia waited outside the conference room, pretending to review patient charts while straining to hear the muffled voices inside. For board members, 3 men and 1 woman, all in suits worth more than her monthly salary, had arrived with leather portfolios and stern expressions. Through the glass wall, she watched Ethan. Gone was the vulnerable patient who struggled with basic movements. In his place sat the CEO whose technology had transformed global communications. Even in casual rehabilitation clothes, he commanded attention, his posture perfect despite pain she knew coursed through his injured leg. After 40 minutes, the door opened. The board members filed out, nodding curtly as they passed. The last one, a silver-haired man with cold eyes, paused beside her. "Ms. Warren, isn't it?" His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Your dedication to our CEO's recovery is noteworthy." "That's my job, sir." "Indeed." He studied her face. "Just remember, everyone is replaceable, even rehabilitation specialists." He left before she could respond, the threat hanging in the air like expensive cologne. When she entered the conference room, Ethan was staring out the window, knuckles white against his walker. "That looked intense," she said, closing the door. "They want me back at headquarters by next month." His voice remained steady, though tension radiated from his shoulders. "They found a more suitable rehabilitation facility in New York. Is that what you want?" He turned to face her. "They also suggested you might be compromising my recovery." Her stomach dropped. Meaning someone's been feeding them concerns about our professional boundaries. His eyes locked with hers. "They called you a distraction." Heat rose to her face. "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" He moved closer, his walker forgotten as he gripped the conference table for support. "Because lately, I find myself thinking about therapy, even when I'm alone. About the way your hands feel when you're helping me stand. About your voice coaching me through pain." Her heart hammered against her ribs. This conversation crossed every professional boundary she'd established. "Ethan, we shouldn't." "They're right to worry," he continued, voice dropping lower. "You are a distraction, just not the way they think." He was close enough now that she could smell his subtle cologne, see the faint stubble along his jaw. Warning bells sounded in her mind, but her body refused to move away. "What did you tell them?" she asked, barely above a whisper. "That you're the best therapist I've worked with. That my progress exceeds medical projections." His eyes held hers. "That I refused their facility transfer." Relief washed through her, followed immediately by confusion. "But your company can survive without me a few more weeks." His hand found hers on the table, warm and certain. "They think you're a distraction," he said, voice low. "What they don't understand is you're the only reason I'm getting better." The admission hung between them, changing everything yet nothing. She should pull away, reinforce boundaries, remind him of her professional ethics. Instead, she remained frozen, her hand beneath his, the contact sending warmth up her arm. "This is complicated," she managed. "Everything worth having is." He didn't release her hand. "I haven't felt this alive since before the accident. Maybe longer." When he reached for her other hand, she didn't pull away, professional boundaries crumbling like the walls of his resistance. "I shouldn't be here right now," she whispered. "Then why are you?" he asked. Her answer would change everything between them. "Have you ever been reduced to a situation By people who didn't understand your value? How did you reclaim your worth? Comment below if you've ever had to defend a connection others tried to diminish or destroy. Alexander stands frozen outside that Baltimore row house, staring at 9-year-old Marcus through the window. The boy has his exact blue eyes, his stubborn jawline, his way of tilting his head when concentrating on homework. Every breath feels like a punch to the chest. Have you ever discovered you had a child you never knew existed? How would that moment change everything you thought you knew about your life? The front door opens. Liana steps out, her work uniform still on from her evening shift at another house. "You need to leave," she whispers, glancing back to make sure Marcus can't hear. "He doesn't know who you are. How long have you known I was his father?" Alexander's voice cracks. "Since the moment I saw you in your kitchen." Her eyes flash with pain. "You think I enjoyed scrubbing floors for the man who abandoned me pregnant?" Alexander reaches for her hand. She pulls back like he's fire. "Liana, I never knew. If you had what? Married the poor black girl, carrying your mistake." The words hang between them like broken glass. Marcus appears in the doorway, curious about the stranger talking to his mother. "Mom, who's this man?" Liana's body goes rigid. Alexander stares at his son, this beautiful, innocent boy who shares his DNA but none of his privilege. "Just someone from work, baby. Go finish your math homework." As Marcus disappears inside, Alexander steps closer. "I want to know him. I want to be part of his life. You had 10 years to find us." Liana's voice drops to a whisper, but it carries the weight of 1,000 lonely nights. "Where were you when he had pneumonia and I couldn't afford the hospital? Where were you when he asked why other kids had daddies at school plays?" The air between them crackles with unresolved passion and pain. Alexander notices how her lips tremble when she's angry, just like they did that summer in Atlanta. He remembers kissing that mouth, tasting her laughter. "I searched for you," he says softly. "After my father died, I came back to Atlanta. You were gone. I had to survive." Her defenses crack slightly. "I had a baby to feed." Have you ever had to choose between pride and providing for your family? Tell us in the comments what you would have done. Alexander pulls out his wallet, starts counting hundreds. "Let me help now. Let me. Put that away." Liana's voice turns ice cold. "You think money fixes 10 years of absence? You think cash erases the nights I worked 3 jobs while pregnant?" But as she says it, her eyes linger on the bills. Alexander notices her worn shoes, her thin jacket against the December cold. "This isn't about money," he says, stepping close enough to smell her familiar perfume, the same scent that haunted his dreams. "This is about us, about what we had. We don't have anything." But her body betrays her words, leaning slightly toward him. Inside the house, Marcus calls out, "Mom, can you check my math?" Liana steps back toward the door. "Don't come here again." He's had enough disappointment. But Alexander sees the truth in her eyes. She's not just protecting Marcus. She's protecting herself from falling for him again. As she closes the door, Alexander stands alone in the cold, knowing everything has changed. 3 days pass. Alexander can't focus on board meetings, can't sign contracts, can't stop seeing Marcus's face in every reflection. His penthouse feels like a prison of marble and regret. Have you ever been haunted by a choice you made years ago? A choice that hurt someone you loved? His assistant Jennifer notices his distraction. "Mr. Price, the Dubai investors are waiting for your call. Cancel it." Alexander stares out his office window toward Baltimore, 40 miles away, but feeling like another planet. He keeps replaying that summer in Atlanta. Liana's laugh echoing through his hotel room, her hands tracing patterns on his chest, the way she'd steal his ties and wear them like dresses. She made him feel human, not just a corporate machine built to inherit his father's empire. That night, he drives to Baltimore again, not to Liana's house. He promised not to return. Instead, he parks across from Marcus's school, watching pickup time through his windshield. Children pour out of the building. Then he sees him, Marcus, backpack bouncing as he runs toward a woman Alexander doesn't recognize. His heart sinks. "Where's Liana?" "Excuse me." He approaches the woman carefully. "I'm looking for Liana Brooks. She's working a double shift today. I'm her neighbor, picking up Marcus." The woman studies Alexander's expensive suit with curiosity. You know, Liana, we're old friends. Marcus glances up from his phone, those familiar blue eyes meeting Alexander's. You're the man from our porch. Alexander's throat tightens. That's right. My mom said you work together. Marcus tilts his head. That same gesture Alexander catches himself doing in mirrors. What kind of work do you do? How do you explain to a 9-year-old that you own companies, that you could buy his entire neighborhood, that his mother cleans bathrooms in your house? I work with numbers, Alexander says simply. I hate math. Marcus grins, and Alexander sees Liana's smile hiding in the boy's features. I used to hate it too. Then I learned it was like solving puzzles. Really? Marcus's face lights up. Can you show me? The neighbor checks her watch. Marcus, honey, we need to get home. As they walk away, Marcus waves back. See you later, number man. Alexander sits in his car, hands shaking. His son called him number man. Not dad, not father, a stranger who works with math. That evening, he calls his lawyer. I need you to research parental rights in Maryland. Sir, are you considering adoption? No, I'm considering acknowledging a biological child. The pause stretches long. Alexander, this could complicate your reputation, your business relationships. I don't care about my reputation. The word surprised him. 3 months ago, reputation was everything. Now, all he cares about is a boy who waves at strangers and hates homework. But late that night, alone in his bed, he thinks about more than just Marcus. He thinks about Liana's defiant chin, the way anger makes her beautiful, how her body remembered his touch even as her words pushed him away. Do you believe people can change? That love deserves a second chance. Share your thoughts below. He falls asleep, clutching his phone. Liana's number typed but not dialed. Some bridges burn easier than others, but some fires are worth walking through. The next morning, Alexander makes a decision that changes everything. Instead of hiding in corporate boardrooms, he shows up at Liana's second job, a law office downtown where she cleans after hours. She's mopping the marble lobby when he walks in at 9 p.m., still wearing his $1,000 suit. What are you doing here? Her knuckles go wide around the mop handle. I met Marcus yesterday, after school. Have you ever seen someone's face when they realize their worst fear just came true? Liana drops the mop. You did what? I didn't tell him who I was. But Liana, he's incredible. He's smart, funny. You had no right. Her voice cuts through the empty building like broken glass. No right to go near my son. He's my son too. The words hang in the air like a slap. Liana's eyes fill with tears she refuses to let fall. Your son. She laughs, but it sounds like crying. Your son lives in a house with heat that barely works. Your son wears secondhand clothes and asks why we can't afford pizza. Your son thinks his father is dead because that was easier than explaining abandonment. Alexander steps closer. The space between them crackles with electricity, part anger, part longing. I want to change that. With what? Money. She picks up the mop again, attacking the floor like it owes her something. You think you can write a check and become a father? I think I can learn. His voice drops soft. I think we can figure this out together. Liana stops mopping, faces him fully. There is no we. There's me, raising our child alone for 9 years. And there's you, living in your ivory tower, making millions while I scrub toilets. The hurt in her voice makes Alexander's chest ache. He remembers how she used to look at him in Atlanta, like he hung the stars just for her. Now she looks at him like he's the reason they fell. I searched for you, he says quietly. When I got back from my father's funeral, I went to your apartment. Your school. Nobody knew where you'd gone. I was 6 months pregnant and broke. Where did you think I'd go? I thought. Alexander runs his hands through his hair. I thought you found someone else. Someone better. Liana laughs bitterly. Better? Alexander, I was 19 and pregnant by a billionaire who vanished. Do you know how that story ends for girls like me? The security guard appears, checking his watch. Ma'am, building closes at 10. Liana nods, gathering her supplies. Alexander follows her to the supply closet, watching her tired movements. Let me help, he says, reaching for a bucket. Don't. But when their hands brush, she doesn't pull away immediately. For a moment, they're 19 and 28 again, sneaking kisses in hotel hallways. "I loved you," she whispers. "Do you know how much that hurt?" "I loved you too." His thumb traces across her knuckles. "I still don't." She jerked her hand back. Love doesn't pay rent. Love doesn't buy medicine when your child is sick. What would you do if the person who broke your heart wanted back in? Tell us in the comments. As Liana locks up, Alexander makes one last desperate attempt. What if I could guarantee Marcus's future? College, medical bills, everything. At what cost? Her eyes search his face. "What do you want in return?" "You," he says simply. "I want you." The parking garage falls silent, except for the sound of two hearts breaking all over again. 2 weeks pass in painful silence. Then Marcus gets sick. Liana sits in the hospital waiting room at 2 a.m., her cleaning uniform wrinkled, her phone showing 17 missed calls from work. The emergency room bill will eat her rent money, but watching her son struggle to breathe made every dollar irrelevant. "Excuse me, are you Liana Brooks?" She looks up to see a doctor she doesn't recognize. Expensive glasses, kind eyes. "Yes, I'm Dr. Martinez. I wanted to update you on Marcus's condition. The pneumonia is responding well to treatment, but he'll need to stay another day for observation." Liana's heart sinks. Another day means more bills she can't afford. "Is there any way?" "Don't worry about costs. Everything's been handled." "Handled? By who?" Dr. Martinez glances at his clipboard. "The gentleman who brought you here. Mr. Price? He's waiting in the family room." Liana's world tilts. "Alexander's here? He's been here since you called the ambulance. Hasn't left the building. Have you ever had someone show up for you when you needed them most? Someone you thought had given up on you?" Liana finds Alexander slumped in a plastic chair, his expensive suit wrinkled, his hair a mess. He looks up when she approaches, his eyes red-rimmed with worry. "How did you know?" she asks quietly. "You called me. At 1:30 a.m. You were crying, said Marcus couldn't breathe." Alexander stands slowly. "Don't you remember?" The night blurs in Liana's memory. Panic, ambulance lights, dialing numbers desperately. She must have hit his contact by accident. "I didn't mean to." "I'm glad you did." His voice cracks. "Is he okay?" "He will be." She studies Alexander's face. The genuine fear there. The relief when she says Marcus will recover. "You paid his bills." "Of course I did." "That's not your responsibility." "Yes, it is." Alexander steps closer, and she can smell his cologne mixed with hospital antiseptic. "He's my son, Liana. Let me act like it." For the first time in 10 years, she sees the man she fell in love with. Not the cold CEO who insulted her in his kitchen, but the vulnerable human being who held her through thunderstorms in Atlanta. "The doctor says he can go home tomorrow," she whispers. "Good. That's good." Alexander's hand hovers near her face, almost touches her cheek, then drops. "You should get some rest. I'll stay with him." "You don't have to." "I want to." His eyes meet hers. "I've missed 9 years of his life. Let me have tonight." Something breaks inside Liana's chest. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's relief. Maybe it's the memory of how safe she used to feel in Alexander's arms. "Room 314, she says softly. Alexander nods, starts walking toward the elevators. Then he stops, turns back. "Liana, thank you for calling me, even if it was an accident." She watches him disappear down the hallway. This powerful man who runs companies but looks terrified of a 9-year-old's hospital room. Later, she peeks through the door and sees Alexander asleep in the bedside chair, his hand resting protectively near Marcus's arm. Her son sleeps peacefully, breathing steady and strong. What would you do if your child's father showed up after years of absence? Would you give him a chance? Let us know what you think. For the first time since that summer in Atlanta, Liana considers the possibility that people can change. That maybe, just maybe, some love stories deserve second chances. Marcus wakes up to find a stranger sleeping in his hospital chair. "Mom," he whispers, and Liana appears from the hallway with coffee. "It's okay, baby. This is Mr. Price. He's a friend who helped us last night." Alexander stirs, his eyes opening to meet Marcus's curious gaze. "Hey there, number man," Marcus says with a weak smile. "You stayed all night? I wanted to make sure you were okay." Alexander's voice is rough with sleep and emotion. Have you ever watched a father meet his son for the second time? When one knows the truth and the other is still innocent. Marcus studies Alexander with 9-year-old honesty. Mom, why does he look like me? Liana's coffee cup trembles in her hands. What do you mean, sweetheart? His eyes, they're the same color as mine. And he has that thing. Marcus points to the small scar on Alexander's chin. I have one just like it. See, Alexander's heart stops. The scar came from falling off his bike at age 7. He had no idea Marcus had inherited the same mark. That's coincidence, Liana says quickly, but her voice lacks conviction. Can I tell you a secret? Alexander leans forward and Marcus nods eagerly. When I was your age, I hated math too, but my mom taught me a trick. Your mom is still alive? Marcus's eyes widen. Alexander's throat tightens. His mother died when he was 12, something Marcus will never experience, growing up with Liana's fierce love. She's not here anymore, but she taught me that numbers tell stories. Want me to show you? For the next hour, Alexander transforms arithmetic into adventure tales. Addition becomes treasure hunting. Subtraction becomes mystery solving. Marcus giggles at every example, and Liana watches from the corner, her defenses slowly cracking. This is what she always imagined. Marcus having a father figure, someone patient and kind who makes him laugh. You're really smart, Marcus tells Alexander seriously. Are you rich? Alexander glances at Liana, who shakes her head slightly. Okay. Good. Maybe you can marry my mom. Then, she works too much and gets sad sometimes. The hospital room falls silent. Liana's face turns crimson. Alexander's heart races like a teenager's. Marcus, honey, you can't just... Why not? Marcus looks between them with innocent logic. You like each other. He stayed all night. And Mom, you're smiling for the first time in forever. Is it true that children see what adults try to hide? Later, while Marcus naps, Liana and Alexander stand by the window overlooking Baltimore. He's amazing, Alexander says quietly. You raised an incredible kid. I had help. Liana's voice softens. My mom, my neighbors. It takes a village. I should have been part of that village. Yeah, you should have. But there's less anger in her words now, more sadness. He needs a father, Alexander. Not a checkbook. Not a stranger who visits when convenient. I want to be his father. Real father. Every day, every soccer game, every homework crisis. Liana turns to study his face. And what about us? You can't be Marcus's dad without dealing with his mother. I know. Alexander steps closer. Maybe that's the point. Maybe Marcus is giving us a second chance we were too scared to ask for. Their reflection in the hospital window shows two people who loved each other once, standing close enough to touch but still afraid to try. Tell us in the comments. Do you believe children can see love that adults are afraid to admit? She came to his room that night, not as his nurse, but as a woman with a confession that would either end their connection or transform it entirely. The clock showed 11:42 p.m. when Alicia knocked softly on Ethan's suite door. Hospital rules prohibited staff visits outside scheduled hours, but the threatening text had escalated. The latest one included her home address. She expected him to be asleep. Instead, he opened the door immediately, dressed in sweatpants and a simple t-shirt that revealed arms more toned than she'd expected. I was hoping you'd come, he said, stepping aside to let her enter. The suite was dimly lit, Chicago's nightscape glittering beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. His medical equipment stood forgotten in the corner, replaced by open laptop screens displaying security code. You're working? It's almost midnight. Tracking your anonymous messenger. He closed the door. Coffee. She shook her head, suddenly uncertain why she'd come. Professional boundaries existed for a reason. Yet here she was, standing in her patient's room after hours, wearing jeans and a sweater instead of scrubs, a woman, not a nurse. The messages got worse, she admitted, showing him her phone. They know where I live, Ethan. His expression darkened as he read the texts. This crosses a line. I'm hiring private security for you starting tomorrow. I can't accept that. You can and you will. His voice left no room for argument. Someone's targeting you because of me. I won't let you face that alone. The intensity in his eyes made her heart race. She moved to the window, needing distance from his magnetic pull. "Why are you really here, Alicia?" he asked quietly, joining her at the window. "You could have shown me these texts tomorrow." The city lights blurred as she turned to face him. "Because I'm scared, not just of the texts, but of—" She gestured between them. "This, whatever is happening between us." He moved closer, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. "And what is happening between us? Something impossible." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Something that could cost me my license and you your company." His hand rose to touch her face, hesitating a breath away. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. "Tell me, and I'll never cross this line." Instead of speaking, she closed the distance between them, pressing her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, a question rather than a demand. Then his arms encircled her waist, pulling her against him as the kiss deepened into something hungry and desperate. His hands trembled as they hovered near her waist, uncertain where boundaries now lay between them. "I've never," he started then stopped. Her eyes widened with understanding. "Never?" she whispered, and the vulnerability in his nod made her heart race faster than his lips had. "My company became my life," he confessed against her hair. "I built an empire but forgot to live in it." The revelation stunned her. This powerful man who commanded boardrooms and created technology that connected millions had never experienced the most basic human connection. "That's why she left," he continued. "My fiancée. The accident just gave her an excuse. The truth is, I never let her close enough to matter." Alicia pulled back to study his face, seeing pain deeper than physical wounds. "Is that why you kept firing nurses? To keep everyone at a distance? Until you—" His thumb traced her lower lip. "You wouldn't let me hide." The kiss left them breathless, but it was his confession that changed the atmosphere. "I need to tell you something about my past, about why my fiancé really left. It wasn't just the accident." The truth hung between them, unspoken but heavy with consequence. What would you risk for a connection that feels right but looks wrong to everyone else? Would you trust your heart over others' warnings? Drop a comment if you've ever followed your heart despite the risks. The billion-dollar tech genius who revolutionized artificial intelligence had never experienced the most natural human connection until a nurse with healing hands taught him that vulnerability could be strength. Dawn painted Chicago's skyline in watercolor hues of pink and gold as Alicia curled in the armchair across from Ethan's bed. They talked through the night, crossing the boundaries of patient and caregiver into something neither could define. "You really never?" she asked again, still processing his confession. "Never the right time, never the right person." He sat on the edge of his bed, morning light highlighting the contours of his face. Building coal technologies consumed every hour. By the time I met Christine, intimacy felt like another skill I hadn't mastered. "So, your engagement was a business arrangement disguised as love." His smile held no humor. "She wanted my name and wealth. I wanted a partner who looked good in press photos and didn't demand emotional availability." Alicia studied him, seeing beyond the public persona to the man beneath. "You deserve better." "So, did she?" He ran a hand through disheveled hair. "The accident just exposed what we both already knew. We were strangers wearing matching rings." She moved to sit beside him, professional caution abandoned hours ago. Physical intimacy isn't a skill you master. It's a connection you feel. His fingers found hers, intertwining with gentle pressure. "Show me." The request held no demand, only trust. She guided his hand to her face, letting him explore the contours of her cheekbone, the curve of her jaw. "Close your eyes," she whispered. "Don't think, just feel." He obeyed, his breathing deepening as she placed his palm against her neck, where her pulse raced beneath his touch. She guided his fingers to the sensitive skin behind her ear, smiling as his breath caught when she shivered. "There's no right or wrong," she murmured, "only discovery." His exploration grew more confident, tracing her collarbone, following the curve of her shoulder, memorizing the texture of her skin like a blind man reading Braille. "Your heart's racing," he observed, his palm resting over her chest. "That's what happens when someone touches you who matters." His eyes opened, finding hers with intensity that made her breath catch. "I built empires, but never learned how to touch someone I care about. Will you teach me?" The question hung between them, loaded with implications neither was ready to fully address. Their foreheads touched, breathing synchronized in the quiet morning light. "This breaks every ethical guideline," she whispered, even as her body leaned toward his. "Tell me to stop." "I can't." The kiss that followed was different from the first, slower, deeper, a promise rather than a question. His hands grew bolder, learning the language of her sighs, the geography of pleasure points that made her breath catch. They crossed no ultimate lines that morning, content with the slow discovery of touch and response. As sunlight filled the room, reality intruded. Her shift would start soon, returning them to their assigned roles. "What happens now?" he asked as she reluctantly stood to leave. "Now we pretend this night never happened." She straightened her clothes, professional mask sliding back into place. "In that room, I'm your nurse. Nothing more. And here." His eyes held hers, unwilling to let her retreat completely. "Here is complicated." She touched his face one last time. "And dangerous for both of us." As morning light spilled across the bed where they talked all night, never crossing lines but redrawing them, his phone erupted with notifications. The first headline made them both freeze. "Tech billionaire's nurse. Gold digger or corporate plant? Is there something you've never experienced that most people take for granted? How would it feel to trust someone enough to guide you? Share your thoughts if you've ever had to be vulnerable enough to admit what you don't know." The internet painted her as either a cunning gold digger or a corporate spy before she'd even kissed him a second time. But it was the photo of them together that proved someone close had betrayed them. "Don't read the comments," Ethan warned, but Alicia couldn't look away from the screen. The article featured a grainy photo taken through the rehabilitation center's garden windows, her hand on Ethan's arm, their faces close, expressions unguarded. "How'd they get this?" Her voice sounded distant to her own ears. "Internal security breach." Ethan's fingers flew across his laptop keyboard. CEO efficiency replacing patient vulnerability. The timestamp matches our garden session 3 days ago. The article speculated wildly. Was she hired by Vertex Capital to gain insider information? Was she after his fortune? Anonymous sources claimed she had compromised patient-caregiver boundaries and manipulated a vulnerable CEO. "They don't even know me." Her hand shook as she scrolled through social media reactions, each crueler than the last. "I've never even heard of Vertex Capital. My biggest competitors." Ethan's voice hardened. "They've been trying to force a merger for years." Her phone rang, the hospital administrator. "Ms. Warren, please come to my office immediately." 30 minutes later, she sat across from Dr. Phillips, the hospital's gray-haired director, whose expression suggested he'd bitten into something sour. "These allegations put our facility in a difficult position," he said, tapping the printed article. "Mr. Cole is our most high-profile patient. The photo shows me helping him walk. That's my job." The intimacy suggested goes beyond professional duties. He removed his glasses. "We've implemented immediate privacy protocols. All staff assigned to Mr. Cole will rotate daily. You'll be reassigned to." "That's unacceptable." Ethan's voice cut through the room as he pushed open the office door, leaning on a cane rather than his walker, progress he'd hidden until now. "Nurse Warren has accelerated my recovery beyond medical projections." Dr. Phillips stood. "Mr. Cole, this is a private. My recovery isn't private anymore, thanks to your security breach." Ethan moved into the room with careful steps, each one deliberate and controlled. "Someone on your staff sold that photo. I want them identified and fired." The administrator's face paled. "We can't be certain." "I can." Ethan placed a tablet on the desk, displaying security code. "The photo came from your internal server, accessed using staff credentials. Find the leak, or my lawyers will find it for you." Outside the office, reporters gathered in the lobby. Security guards blocked entrances while staff whispered behind hands, eyes following Alicia as she walked beside Ethan back to his suite. "This will blow over," she said, not believing it herself. "No, it won't." He closed the door behind them. "They'll dig until they find something or manufacture it." Her professional life flashed before her eyes. Years of education and dedication destroyed by gossip and innuendo. "I should request a transfer. Different facility, different state. Running won't help." His hand found hers. "They'll just twist that too. Then what? We control the narrative." His expression shifted to determination she recognized from magazine covers, starting with finding who's feeding them information. He turned to his computer, pulling up hospital security footage. Together, they watched staff movements, tracking access points, searching for the betrayal source. The revelation came at 4:17 p.m. when a hospital administrator's words felt like a physical blow. "We think it's best if Nurse Warren is reassigned immediately." Before she could process what that meant, Ethan's voice cut through the room. "That won't be necessary. I'm checking out. Today. Have you ever been misrepresented by people who knew nothing about you? How did you hold on to your truth when lies were louder? Let me know in the comments if you face judgment based on assumptions rather than facts." He owned 12 properties across the country, but chose the one no one knew about. A lakeside cabin where technology couldn't find them and healing could happen on their own terms. "Slow down." Alicia gripped the passenger seat as Ethan's custom Range Rover turned onto a private gravel road. "Your leg isn't ready for driving, let alone off-roading." 4 years of physical therapy compressed into 4 weeks. His smile held genuine pleasure as he navigated the winding path. "You're a miracle worker, Nurse Warren." She couldn't argue. His progress had been remarkable. Still, leaving against medical advice, abandoning formal rehabilitation for a remote cabin. This is professional suicide for both of us. Staying would be worse. Trees parted to reveal a stunning log cabin nestled against a pristine lake, mountains rising beyond. Welcome to the one place not listed in any Cole Technologies asset portfolio. The cabin defied expectations. Rustic exterior concealing modern luxury within. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed lake views, while a massive stone fireplace anchored the open living area. Medical equipment delivered ahead of their arrival waited in a converted bedroom. "Your rehabilitation gym," Ethan explained, showing her the parallel bars, weights, and exercise equipment. "Everything we need to continue your miracle work." "And when someone recognizes you at the local store? Or me?" She crossed her arms. "We can't hide forever. We're 3 hours from Chicago in a town of 842 people. The nearest neighbor is 5 miles away." He moved closer, confidence in each step that would have been impossible weeks ago. "Here, we're just a couple renting a vacation cabin." "We're not a couple." The protest sounded weak even to her ears. "No." His hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her lower lip. "What are we then?" The question hung between them as sunset painted the room in amber light. Professional boundaries had blurred beyond recognition, leaving them in undefined territory. "I'm still your nurse," she whispered, though her body leaned toward his touch. "And I'm still your patient." His eyes held hers. "But we're also more, aren't we?" The kiss answered what words couldn't. Deep, hungry, months of restraint dissolving with each passing second. His hands explored with growing confidence, no longer hesitant as they traced the curve of her waist, the arch of her back. She led him like a dance where she knew all the steps, his hesitancy giving way to instinct as she whispered encouragement. "There's no wrong way to touch me," she breathed against his neck. "Just feel what happens when you do this." His sharp intake of breath was answer enough. They moved to the bedroom, where moonlight spilled across clean sheets. Each item of clothing removed was a barrier broken, each newly revealed inch of skin an undiscovered country. His body proved stronger than either expected, rehabilitation paying dividends neither had anticipated. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets, the lake shimmering beyond windows uncovered by curtains. They were too far from prying eyes to need them. "You're quiet," he murmured against her hair. processing ethical violations. Despite her words, she nestled closer. Regrets. Uncertainty shadowed his voice. Not about this. She traced a surgical scar on his leg. About what comes next. My career, your company. Tomorrow's problems. He kissed her shoulder. Tonight, just be here with me. The bubble of privacy shattered with a single email forwarded from his assistant. Urgent. Proof of conspiracy between Alicia Warren and Vertex Capital. Attached was a bank statement showing payments to her account. Payments she'd never received but couldn't explain. What would you choose? Safety in isolation or risk in the spotlight? Is true connection worth sacrificing public perception? Share your experience if you've ever had to choose between protecting your reputation or following your heart. The fabricated evidence was perfect down to the last detail, except that it underestimated how completely he'd already fallen for her. Rain lashed against cabin windows as Ethan paced the living room, each step a testament to his recovery and a backdrop to mounting tension. The bank statements displayed on his laptop showed 5 transfers to an account bearing Alicia's name. $50,000 each from shell company linked to Vertex Capital. I've never seen this account. Alicia's voice remained steady despite the panic rising in her chest. This isn't mine, Ethan. He stopped pacing, studying her face with the intensity that had built his fortune, the ability to read truth from lies. I believe you. The simple declaration hung between them, unexpected and profound. Just like that, she asked. Without proof. I trust you. He sat beside her on the couch, taking her trembling hands in his. Which means someone went to extraordinary lengths to make me doubt you. Lightning flashed across the lake as they examined the documents together. The account showed her social security number, Atlanta address, even a correct bank where she held her actual accounts. A perfect forgery. This is identity theft. Ethan's fingers moved across the keyboard, digging deeper into the digital trail. Sophisticated, expensive. Why would anyone go to these lengths? To isolate me. His expression hardened. Cut me off from anyone I trust before the quarterly board meeting. She watched him work. This side of him new yet familiar. The brilliant mind that had transformed global technology now focused on unraveling deception. Lines of code reflected in his glasses as he traced digital footprints through hidden servers. There, he pointed to a string of numbers. The documents originated from an IP address registered to. His expression darkened. Christine's law firm. Your ex-fiancée? Alicia moved closer, reading over his shoulder. Why would she? Because she owns significant shares in Vertex Capital. His jaw tightened. Shares she purchased 1 week after leaving me at the hospital. The betrayal was deeper than either had imagined. Not just a jealous ex, but calculated corporate espionage. Christine had dumped him publicly, invested in his competitors, then created false evidence to isolate him from his new support system. She's trying to force you out, Alicia realized. Make you look unstable, compromised by a nurse who's secretly working against you, while positioning herself to profit when Cole Technologies stock drops. He closed the laptop, turning to face her. I'm sorry you got caught in this. Don't apologize for someone else's choices. She touched his face, tracing the worry line between his brows. What do we do now? Counterattack. His eyes held renewed determination. I need evidence linking these forgeries to their source. Can you access your actual bank records? Complete history. She nodded, pulling out her phone. What are you planning? To prove these are fake, we need the real ones. His hand covered hers. But I'm asking a lot. Exposing your private finances, risking your career further. The moments stretched between them. Trust flowing both ways now. No longer patient and nurse, but partners against a common threat. I trust you too, she said, unlocking her phone. Whatever you need. They worked through the night, building their defense against invisible enemies. The cabin that had been their sanctuary became a war room, intimacy temporarily replaced by shared purpose. As dawn broke over the lake, his phone rang. His board chairman, voice grave. Ethan, they're calling for an emergency vote to remove you as CEO. You need to come back. Now. When evidence points against someone you care about, do you trust your instincts or demand proof? What does it take to believe in someone when facts seem to say otherwise? Comment below with how you balance trust and verification in your relationships. She watched him transform from the vulnerable man who trembled at her touch into the ruthless business titan who built an empire. And for the first time, she questioned if she knew him at all. The Cole Technologies headquarters dominated Chicago's skyline. 68 floors of glass and steel projecting wealth and innovation. Alicia felt underdressed and out of place as she followed Ethan through the private entrance, security personnel snapping to attention as he passed. "Stay close," he murmured, his hand at the small of her back. "They'll try to separate us." Gone was the patient who needed her support to stand. In his place walked a man whose presence commanded respect. He wore an impeccably tailored suit that concealed any hint of physical weakness, his cane now a power accessory rather than medical necessity. "Mr. Cole," his assistant materialized beside them, tablet in hand. "The board is assembled. They've been waiting 30 minutes. Let them wait 30 more." His voice carried authority she'd never heard in the rehabilitation suite. "Prepare the evidence packets we sent, one for each board member." The executive floor buzzed with tension as they approached the boardroom. Through glass walls, Alicia saw 12 people in business attire seated around a massive table, expressions ranging from concern to barely concealed hostility. "You shouldn't bring her in," his legal counsel whispered, appearing at Ethan's side. "It validates their concerns about." "She stays." The two words ended all discussion. When they entered, conversations ceased. 12 pairs of eyes assessed them, lingering on their proximity, noting how Ethan's hand remained protectively near her waist. "Cutting your rehabilitation short seems ill-advised," said a silver-haired man at the head of the table, the same board member who had threatened Alicia weeks ago. "Though perhaps your companion provides adequate care." Whispers circulated as Ethan guided Alicia to seats prepared for them. She felt the weight of judgment from people who knew her only from tabloid speculation. "Before we begin this farce of a vote," Ethan said, voice carrying effortlessly across the room, "I'd like to address the allegations against Ms. Warren." Folders appeared before each board member, distributed by staff who moved with military precision. Inside, you'll find evidence of identity theft, corporate espionage, and stock manipulation, all traced back to Christine Matthews and Vertex Capital. Ethan remained standing, commanding the room with presence alone. The supposed payments to Ms. Warren were fabricated. The account doesn't exist. "These are serious accusations," the chairman responded, not opening his folder. With irrefutable proof, Ethan tapped his folder, including testimony from the bank's fraud department and digital forensics tracking the forgery to Christine's law firm. The room temperature seemed to drop as board members exchanged glances. "What's your relationship with Ms. Warren?" A woman halfway down the table asked directly. "The public perception is irrelevant to my ability to lead this company," Ethan cut in. "My personal life is not up for vote." The debate that followed revealed alliances and enemies Alicia couldn't have imagined. Ethan countered each challenge with laser precision, dismantling opposition point by point. This was the business genius who had built a tech empire from nothing, strategic, unstoppable, and utterly unlike the broken man she'd first met. When the board meeting ended with his position secure and the conspirators exposed, he turned to find her gone. Only a text message remaining. "I need time to think. What I saw today scared me." Have you ever seen someone you care about in their element, showing a side you never knew existed? Did it change how you felt about them? Share your reaction to seeing someone's completely different side in the comments below. She fell for the broken man learning to walk again, not the cutthroat CEO who destroyed careers with a single sentence. But he was both, and loving him meant embracing all his pieces. The taxi dropped Alicia at her friend Maya's apartment in a modest Chicago neighborhood, miles from the gleaming towers of downtown. Here, rent checks were still written by hand, and laundry hung from fire escapes, a world Ethan Cole probably couldn't comprehend. So the billionaire Prince Charming has teeth, Maya said, handing Alicia a mug of tea. You're surprised? I'm not surprised he's powerful. Alicia curled into the worn couch. I'm surprised how much I didn't know about him. Her phone buzzed with another message from Ethan, the seventh since she'd left the boardroom. Each progressively more worried, more personal. She turned the device face down. He dismantled people, Maya. Exposed their mistakes, threatened their positions. One board member nearly cried, and they were trying to destroy him, Maya pointed out. What did you expect? A group hug. Outside, Chicago traffic honked and swirled beneath gray skies, threatening rain. 3 blocks away, children played in a community park where fundraisers helped maintain equipment. Ethan's world operated on a different scale entirely, where millions changed hands in minutes and power was currency more valuable than money. Her phone buzzed again. At least read them. Maya nudged. The man saved your reputation today. Alicia scrolled through his messages. Where are you? Please let me know you're safe. I understand why you left. That wasn't me in there. Not all of me. The man you know is real too. I need to see you. The last message included an address. Not his penthouse or company headquarters, but a small coffee shop in her neighborhood. He was coming to her world. Rain had started falling when she entered the cafe 2 hours later. Ethan sat in the corner, no security detail, no luxury car waiting outside. Just a man in a shirt with rolled-up sleeves, looking at a place among college students and neighborhood regulars. He stood when he saw her, uncertainty replacing boardroom confidence. Thank you for coming. This is a first, she said, sliding into the booth. Ethan Cole, without an entourage. I fired the security team for the evening. His smile held no humor. Apparently, I'm terrifying enough on my own. The accusation hung between them. I'm not apologizing for protecting what's mine, he said quietly. They came after my company. They came after you. I responded accordingly. That's what scares me. She met his eyes. That calculated coldness. The man who holds power over thousands isn't the same one who held me like I was precious. I need to know which one is real. His hand reached across the table, stopping short of touching hers. Both are. I built Cole Technologies by being exactly who you saw today. I make difficult decisions, eliminate threats, take calculated risks. And the man I care about is who I am with you. His voice softened. The man who never let anyone close enough to matter. Until now, rain drummed against windows as customers came and went, lives intersecting briefly before continuing on separate paths. I don't fit in your world, Ethan. Today made that clear. Then I'll fit into yours. The declaration came without hesitation. Whatever it takes. The simplicity of his statement caught her off guard. This man who commanded empires was offering compromise, something his business opponents would never witness. When he finally found her, he brought no flowers, no grand gestures, just truth. Both sides are me. But only one side is afraid of losing you. As she stepped toward him, her phone rang. The hospital administrator with news that would force her to choose between her career and her heart. Could you love someone whose world is completely different from yours? What compromises would you make for love that crosses boundaries? Let me know in the comments if you've ever had to bridge 2 different worlds to make a relationship work. The medical board called it ethical misconduct, falling for a patient, but they hadn't been in that sterile room watching a broken man rebuild himself through her touch. The investigation will take approximately 6 weeks, Dr. Phillips explained, his voice carefully neutral over the speakerphone, during which time your nursing license will be suspended pending review. Alicia sat frozen in Maya's kitchen, Ethan beside her, his hand covering hers on the table. The allegations cite inappropriate relationship with a patient under your care, the administrator continued. Evidence includes photographs, witness statement from staff, and your departure from the facility alongside Mr. Cole. Is there anything she can do? Ethan asked, CEO authority creeping into his tone. Mr. Cole, with all due respect, your involvement only complicates Ms. Warren's position. The administrator's voice cooled. The hearing is scheduled for next month. I suggest separate representation for both parties. After the call ended, silence filled the apartment. 8 years of education, Countless night shifts, patients saved and lost, all potentially ending because she fell for the one person she shouldn't have. "I'll hire the best medical ethics attorneys," Ethan said, already reaching for his phone. "We'll fight this." "No." She pulled her hand away. "Your involvement makes it worse. They'll say I traded my license for your bank account. Then what do you suggest?" Frustration edged his voice. "Let them destroy your career over something beautiful." "Beautiful?" She stood, needing distance. "My career is in ruins. Your company barely survived a takeover. The whole country thinks I'm either a gold digger or corporate spy. What exactly about this situation strikes you as beautiful?" His expression softened. "Us. Despite everything, there's still us." The simple words penetrated her anger, leaving vulnerability in its place. He crossed the kitchen, gathering her against his chest where she could hear his heartbeat, steady and certain. "I can fix this," he murmured into her hair. "Some things can't be fixed with money or power." She pulled back to see his face. "This isn't a business problem with a business solution." "Then let's make it personal." His hands framed her face. "Move in with me. Not as my nurse, not as my employee, as my partner." The offer stunned her. "Ethan, I have resources that can help your brother's medical bills. Connections that can open doors once your license is reinstated. But that's not why I'm asking." His thumbs traced her cheekbones. "I'm asking because I love you. The rest is just logistics." The declaration, so unexpected, so absolute, broke something loose inside her. All the walls of professionalism, all the careful boundaries she'd maintained, crumbled under three simple words. They came together like opposing storms, her anger at the injustice meeting his protective fury, hands reclaiming territories on each other's bodies that society had tried to declare forbidden. "Let them judge," she gasped against his mouth. "They don't know what we've built." Clothes fell away as they moved to Maya's guest bedroom, need overriding caution. His body had grown stronger through weeks of rehabilitation, capable now of supporting his weight above her, of moving with confidence and control that matched the hunger in his eyes. "Tell me again," she whispered as he moved within her, their bodies finding rhythm as natural as breathing. "I love you." He held her gaze, vulnerability and power balanced in perfect measure. "Every part of you. The nurse who wouldn't let me quit. The woman who teaches me how to feel." Afterward, wrapped in sheets and each other, reality waited beyond the bedroom door. Her suspended license, his company responsibilities, a world eager to tear apart what they'd built. With her nursing license suspended pending review, she faced a truth that terrified her. Without her career, she had nothing independent of him. The realization came as he slept beside her, along with the knowledge that independence had always been her strongest shield, and she wasn't ready to surrender it, not even for him. Have you ever had to defend a relationship that others deemed inappropriate? What price would you pay for love that doesn't fit society's expectations? Share your experience in the comments if you've ever stood up for a connection others tried to label wrong. She packed her bags while he slept, leaving behind the warmth of his body, but taking the strength he'd helped her rediscover. Sometimes loving someone meant walking away to find yourself first. Pre-dawn light crept through apartment windows as Alicia zipped her suitcase closed. On the nightstand, she left a letter explaining what she couldn't say face to face, that she loved him too much to become dependent on him, that she needed to rebuild her identity before she could truly be his partner. Her Uber waited outside, ready to take her to the airport. Atlanta waited, her brother, her family home, and a healthcare advocacy position offered by a former mentor. Not nursing, but adjacent enough to use her skills while fighting to restore her license. Ethan found the note 3 hours later. His calls went to voicemail. His text showed delivered but unread. For a man accustomed to commanding attention with a single word, her silence was unfamiliar territory. "She's gone because you tried to solve her," Maya told him bluntly when he appeared at her door. "Women aren't companies you can restructure." The weeks that followed taught both of them lessons in absence. Alicia built a new routine in Atlanta, working with healthcare nonprofits, helping her brother through follow-up treatments, reclaiming pieces of herself that existed before Ethan Cole. In Chicago, Ethan channeled his frustration into transformation. Cole Technologies announced a new healthcare initiative focusing on rehabilitation technology. Board members who had opposed him found themselves outmaneuvered through strategy rather than confrontation. The broken man and ruthless CEO merged into someone more balanced, more whole. He respected her request for space, limiting contact to a single text each week. "I'm here when you're ready. No pressure. No demands." 62 days after she left, Alicia's phone rang with news from the medical board. The ethics investigation had concluded. Her license would be reinstated with probationary oversight. Not perfect, but survivable. Her first instinct was to call Ethan. Her second, wiser thought was to celebrate this victory alone, proof she could rebuild without his influence. That evening, as she sat on her childhood porch swing, a black car pulled into the driveway. Ethan emerged, looking both familiar and changed, his limp barely noticeable, his expression hopeful but uncertain. "You shouldn't be here," she said when he reached the steps. "Probably not." He remained at the bottom, respecting her space. "But I needed to say something in person. I'm not coming back yet." "I know." His smile held no expectation. "That's what I came to tell you. I understand now what I did before. You don't need rescuing. You never did." The admission hung between them, profound in its simplicity. "I restructured Cole Technologies' leadership," he continued. "Created a foundation focused on healthcare access, and started therapy. Turns out emotionally unavailable CEOs can learn new tricks." Despite herself, she smiled. "Congratulations. I'm not asking you to come back." He took one step up, then stopped. "I'm asking what you want. Not what works for me, or what solves a problem. What do you want, Alicia?" The question, so direct, so centered on her needs rather than his solutions, showed how much he'd grown in their time apart. "I want my career back. I want to help people. I want independence." "And me?" Vulnerability flashed across his face. "Do you want me to?" 3 months passed without contact. Her rebuilding her career in health advocacy, him transforming his company's ethical framework, when the pregnancy test showed 2 pink lines. Some connections, it seemed, couldn't be severed by distance or time. Is it possible to love someone enough to let them go? Have you ever had to choose between a relationship and your sense of self? Comment below if you've experienced the difficult balance between maintaining independence and building partnership. She hadn't planned to tell him about the baby growing inside her until she saw his name on the donor list for her new community health initiative and realized some men change in ways that matter. 6 months after leaving Chicago, Alicia stood at the podium of Atlanta's newest community health center. As director of patient advocacy, she addressed donors and community members gathered for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Her fitted blazer concealed the slight curve of her belly, a secret she'd kept for 12 weeks, uncertain how to bridge the distance she'd created. This center represents healthcare as it should be, accessible to everyone regardless of income or status, she told the audience. Thanks to our generous donors, especially the Cole Foundation, whose contribution established our rehabilitation wing. Her eyes found him in the back row. No entourage, no fanfare. Just Ethan in a simple suit, watching her with undisguised pride. He hadn't announced his attendance, hadn't demanded recognition. The foundation donation had come with no strings attached, no leveraged advantage. After the ceremony, they found each other among departing guests. The busy room faded around them, creating a private moment in public space. "Congratulations," he said, keeping professional distance. "What you've built here is remarkable. You helped build it." She gestured toward the rehabilitation wing bearing his foundation's name. "Why didn't you tell me you were donating? Would it have mattered?" No accusation in his tone, just honest curiosity. "Yes." She met his eyes directly. "It showed me who you've become." Something shifted between them, the first crack in walls built over months of separation. He noticed her hand drift unconsciously to her stomach, a protective gesture she wasn't aware of making. His eyes widened with sudden understanding. "Alicia, are you?" She nodded, emotion closing her throat. 14 weeks. I found out after the medical board hearing. The busy reception hall couldn't contain this moment. By silent agreement, they moved outside to the center's healing garden, where spring flowers created privacy among stone paths. Why didn't you tell me? His voice held no anger, only concern. I needed to be certain about us first. She touched a blooming rose bush, focusing on its petals rather than his intense gaze. I couldn't risk becoming the woman who trapped a billionaire with a baby. I needed to know I could stand on my own. And now, hope tinged his question. Now I see a man who donated millions to healthcare without demanding his name on the building, who respected my need for space, who rebuilt himself while I was rebuilding myself. She finally met his eyes, a man I could build a future with, not because I need him, but because I choose him. The space between them disappeared as he drew her into his arms, his hand resting reverently on her stomach where their child grew. I have something to show you, he murmured against her hair, leading her to his car. They drove through Atlanta's tree-lined streets to a neighborhood of historic homes. He stopped before a modest Victorian with a wide porch and garden. I bought it last month, he explained as they walked up the path. Close to your brother, the health center, good schools. He unlocked the door, revealing rooms filled with natural light. I can run East Coast operations from here. Fly to Chicago when needed. She turned to him in the empty living room, understanding washing over her. You're moving to Atlanta? If you'll have me. He took her hands, not asking you to give up anything, not trying to solve you, just wanting to be where you are. His hands traced the new curves of her body with reverence, pausing at the swell of her abdomen where their future grew. I've thought about you every day, he whispered against her skin. Not just about this, his touch drifted lower, making her gasp, but about who we become together. The accident that broke his body led him to the woman who healed his heart. The scandal that threatened her career gave her the courage to transform it. And the child they created, conceived in that cabin where they'd hidden from the world, would never know a love built on anything less than equality, respect, and the kind of passion that comes when two people choose each other again and again, despite every reason not to. Do you believe people can truly change for love? Or that sometimes the right relationship finds you at the wrong time? Tell me in the comments what you think makes a love worth fighting for, and whether you believe some connections are simply meant to be, no matter what obstacles stand in their way. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories that make you feel, think, and maybe even heal a little. Tell me in the comments which part of Ethan and Alicia's journey resonated most with you. And remember, sometimes the greatest love stories begin with broken pieces that fit together perfectly.